What do you get when you take people dedicated to their craft, going through leaps and bounds, acting on their plan of action even in the midst of adversity? You get a heartfelt story so organic and becoming so genuine, which forces you to be a part of their moment, joining these experiences as if you were a part of them. These are stories of people, just like you and I, reflecting from within on how they've used adversity to catapult their lifestyle, their vision, and their goals to becoming successful. Here at the Stories to Savor Network, we welcome you to this wonderful, heartfelt show entitled Reflections from Inside. So the next time you go through trials and tribulations, or having self-doubt, consider to let the stories resonate with you in hopes to inspire you to believe that you can do whatever you set your mind to do.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were speaking with Darnell Reed, who opened the first and the only of its kind Southern restaurant in Lincoln Square. We learned that you named the restaurant after your great-grandmother, Luella. Tell us a little bit about what it took to kind of get that restaurant up and going. What sacrifices did you make in order to build this dream?
Well, actually, so the restaurant idea I had for, I would say, many years, but as I mentioned, it took that one summer for me to decide that, I wanted to be Luella's Southern Kitchen. And if I'm not mistaken, it was about maybe a year later I started making plans towards it. So the first...
And you were working for the Hilton,
for Hilton,
at the
yes.
time? Okay.
Yeah, so the first real sacrifice was that I decided I was going to go all in. Like, hey, you know what?
I'm doing this.
Put my notice at Hilton after I've been there for 18 years.
Wow.
And
that's a long career to give up.
Yeah, and I kind of let them know that I wanted to, because I wanted to 100% pursue it, because I knew,
Yeah.
I still do know people that works for hotels, and they open restaurants as like a little side thing,
Right.
and a
lot of people do that.
But they spend, but they're still committed and spending all their time at the hotel, and they have someone else running their business.
Sure.
But so my first sacrifice, I would say, was to tell Hilton, hey, thank you, but I think it was time for me to move on.
How did that make you feel? I mean, was that exciting? Did you feel more nervous about it?
No, it was definitely, I would say it was exciting. I still, to this day, I still love working for Hilton. It was a great company to work for, and I knew what I was walking away from was something great, but I also felt like I can do something of my own as well. Yeah. My whole thought with opening another restaurant was that, hey, you know, I work for hotels. I worked my way up from washing dishes all the way to being executive chef.
Right.
And but people don't come to that hotel because of my restaurant. They stay in that hotel because they have other obligations in the city. Sometimes it's business, sometimes it's leisure, and they may eat in the restaurant because of the convenience, or they may cater an event.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I want to have a restaurant where people come to my restaurant because it's my restaurant. Like, I want to go to Luella's Southern Kitchen, not I'm going to eat in their restaurant downstairs.
Because it happens to be in the
hotel.
Hilton.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was my reasoning. But so the first commitment was to leave Hilton. The second one was to use all of my savings to actually open a restaurant, because I had already made a decision that I didn't want to take any loans or anything like that.
Nice.
I wanted the restaurant to be all me. So that's what I'm like. So it was like either it was all in.
Did that feel uncomfortable because you've spent 18 years at the Hilton building up your savings, and now here you were
to see your account dwindle, it's like, wow, I had so much money in the account, but then you always feel like, oh, if I'm confident in what I do, then it'll come back. You know, it'll come back. But one of the other sacrifices was, I would say, towards the end, or not the end, but before opening, I realized that the money that I had saved up wasn't enough to actually get open. So my only other option was, and I've heard this option from other people with Hilton, not for a restaurant, but just for other things, for other reasons. I'm like, hey, maybe I can tap into my 401k, and I can use that money to actually get this restaurant up and running.
So you've completely depleted your savings.
Yeah, savings.
And now you're going for the retirement.
And then I went for the retirement fund, and it got me there. It got the restaurant open, and that's pretty much what actually worked for me. So I would say that those were the two sacrifices. I think just being in the industry, other sacrifices were already happening, as far as, like I said, time away from family and things like that. Those were the other sacrifices, but financial sacrifices, were involved. Like I said, the savings and the 401k, and then the commitment to leave Hilton to open a restaurant. And all throughout, honestly, like you asked me if I was nervous or anything, I was not. The only thing that actually made me nervous was other people asking. Because that was what happened. Like, basically people would be like, hey, you should be nervous. Well, they wouldn't say you shouldn't be. Like, basically the question would be, aren't you nervous? Like, you opening a restaurant, this and this, like, what if it fails?
Their doubts. They're posing their doubts on you.
And I was like, I never even thought about what if it fails, but now you put it into my head, like, what if it fails?
I have to think about it,
Yeah, it's like, I'm just thinking I'm going to open a restaurant, it's going to be great, it's going to be good times, and people are like, well, but what if, So either way, they did. I won't say that it crept into my head too much as far as the what if, because I don't like I usually think of what if is more successful. As opposed to what if I don't do this. Yeah, right, so as opposed to what if it just doesn't work. So that's pretty much, that's pretty much the sacrifice.
So you've drained your savings, you've tapped in your 401k, and you've sacrificed a lot with your family as well, right? So.
Well, yes, drained the savings, 401k, and a week after we opened, I added an addition to the family. I had a little girl 1 week after we opened the restaurant.
Wow.
A new little girl with no money. I'm like, what if I would have had this money when I had the girl,
It might have been different.
Yeah, but it was like, so then, now I really got to hustle. This restaurant has to work. That's the way I felt. Like, it has to work.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about that, because I think that when we have a passion or a dream and we're not seeing any of the negatives that other people are imposing on us, we're dead set on making that dream happen. And there are a lot of things that we do sacrifice outside of money. It's also relationships. So when we return, we're going to talk with Darnell about the impact that this decision had, not only on his experience, but how it affected his family, and their contribution to helping you build your dream.